A lot of rappers still, it seems like, want to be Tupac. They want to have his popularity. They want people to love them like everyone loves him. But why do you think no one's succeeding?
Well, because this is what they fail to realize about Tupac. In order for them to be Tupac, they would have to die before they peaked. Right before they peaked, they would have to die. So if you don't die, you can't do it. Bottom line, if you don't go die, you're not gonna be the next Tupac, because it ain't gonna be the next Tupac. Straight up.
Hello, my name is Cathy Scott. I am an author and news reporter, and the author of The Killing of Tupac Shakur and The Murder of Biggie Smalls, both bestsellers. And I am here today rocking it with Gab at MAKAVELI Media.
Yo, YouTube, what up? It's your homie Gab. I'm in the building, and this is MAKAVELI Media. Today's guest is no stranger to my channel, the one and only Miss Cathy Scott. How you doing, Miss Scott?
I'm great. Thanks so much.
Miss Scott, all hell broke loose over the last 24 hours. Well, going into 48 hours, should I say.
Yeah, it lit up like a Christmas tree.
What exactly is going on right now between the Las Vegas Police Department and DUANE Keefe D. Davis?
Well, DUANE, what cops need for to pull off to do a raid, which they did a search of his house, executed a search warrant of the house he's living in. It belongs to his wife, just south of Las Vegas. And to go in, you have to have probable cause. So apparently, Keefe D, if this is it, because this is what's out there, and I've read it in a few places. Keefe D did a Netflix documentary. He was in it. And in it, he said, it was a confession, that he was in the car that Orlando Anderson was in too, that executed the murder of Tupac Shakur. That's that is collaboration of a murder. You are a party to a murder if you are, because the intent of all the members in that car who sat there, their intent was to go find Tupac and teach him a lesson for beating up Orlando Anderson at the MGM Grand. And so they took that confession on Netflix, and if this is what happened, which I believe it did, and then they took that to the courthouse. That's probable cause. A judge gave them a search warrant. Now they're looking for more evidence. Apparently they took computers and notebooks and papers and things like that. They're looking to see if Keefe has written down somewhere and, talking to people. The interesting about crooks and some of them can't stop talking. and they also, I was told by a homicide cop once that, the reason crooks get caught is because they're stupid. And if you don't make an admission like that. But what he was trying to do is he had been trying to, remember a couple of years ago, this came up, the Queen for a day, they get a proffer for a day, and anything they tell the police in a day, they won't use against them if they can provide evidence that police can use, or
right.
Information police can use. So Keefe D was trying to do that and couldn't do it. I read somewhere that there was a proffer, there isn't, and so he was trying to get a proffer to get him off the hook. I'll give you, and so he was saying he had some wild, far-fetched thing, that some old case that he was going to solve it for Metro. Well, it turned out it was nothing. And so he had nothing to offer in exchange for immunity from participating in the murder of Tupac Shakur. And so that's where we are right now. They've got the goods on him with his admission in Netflix, and now they're looking to get more to corroborate it. Excuse me. And who knows how many witnesses they have, people over the years. It's going to be interesting, but I don't think the police, and you can tell me if you think that too, I don't think they would have issued a news release and made a big honking deal out of it had they not had the goods and they didn't have a good case. What do you think?
I totally agree, because we've heard, rumors before that some action was going to be taken, but nothing compared to what we just saw yesterday and today. I mean, I've seen footage of, the police department coming down the street to serve his search warrant. But my question is, Ms. Scott, why now? Why all of a sudden now?
It was because of Keefe. It was because of Keefe. Why now too? I mean, they could have solved his murder years ago. They had the Compton PD with witnesses, of Orlando Anderson going around bragging for 6 days after Tupac's shooting while he was still alive. Hey, I capped Tupac. And then when Tupac died, he stopped talking. And the gang cops went to the Las Vegas Metro Police and said, Orlando Anderson's your guy. He was in Vegas. There's motive because Tupac and Suge and their homies beat him up. And then there was means and opportunity, and the means was the Glock, and the opportunity was they saw him driving along Flamingo Avenue right next to them, and boom, they capped him. And so it's all there. It was such a simple case, but they didn't want a big trial like that. It would hurt the tourism. That's what it was about.
Right,
now you've got a new sheriff who comes along, and there's this new evidence from Keefe D, and now they can do it. Keefe D basically, and I think nobody else had the desire to do it, and now the new sheriff isn't going to ignore it. And it's been a cold case, but that's basically why. It was just there was no desire on anybody's part. You could one of the sergeant in homicide, when he went into his office that first week after Tupac was shot, and he was still alive, and all the media, international, Ireland loves anything rap, UK loves it, and in New York, everybody across the nation, all the reporters were calling, and he came in to his office one day during that first week, and he had 300 messages on his, remember the phone messages, 300 phone messages. And so he turned off his phone message recorder. That is how he solved it. Instead of having people follow up on, there was no desire, and it was, what murder we didn't have. They wanted it to go away, and I really think they thought it would, and it didn't. And now with a different sheriff, different homicide guys in the shop, that they're taking the case seriously, and yay for them. It's about time, but great. It's hallelujah time that they're going to solve the murder. There's no statute of limitations on murder.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Hey, but Miss Scott, another question I had, okay. You broke the story of the Tupac Shakur murder out in Las Vegas. He was the lead reporter.
I broke the death. I was at the hospital.
Okay.
Filed the story.
Right.
We in our newspaper broke the story that Tupac died. It shut down our internet site because everybody from all over the world. Yeah.
But it's amazing how
when he
it comes
died.
full circle. Because did you ever think you would see the day where, somebody would actually be held accountable for the Tupac Shakur murder?
No, I didn't because Orlando Anderson was dead, and it never occurred to me that Keefe D, because he's the only living person from that car. Everybody else in the vehicle, the Cadillac, that 5, 6 guys, whatever it was, 4 or 5, depending on who you talk to, they're all gone, and Keefe D is the only living one. And if you're in a car, you are responsible for that death. So he's an accessory to murder. And I think that's the charge. We'll see if that's what they're going after, which I think it is. He's an accessory to murder, and that'll be his charge. That's just one short of murder. So he'll be going away for a while.
So do you honestly think that Keefe D was foolish enough to actually make these confessions publicly several times without giving full immunity?
He didn't think it was. Well, why would they give him immunity? The only reason you give, it wasn't a confession. He was in a car. Everybody knew he was in the car. That's no secret. It's in my book from 1996. So, well, we've updated the book since then, but he wasn't confessing, but he was trying to work out some deal. Well, if you're going to work out, I give you this and you get me off on that, you better have something real. And he didn't. He had some convoluted case that nobody cared about, and I think he started doing that 2 years ago. And I think what happened in the process, and then singing like a bluebird on Netflix, that I was in the car, accessory dude, you're an accessory to murder, and how dumb is that? But he's thinking, well, I'm giving them a little. Well, he wasn't in a little discussion. He wasn't in a queen for a day thing with them. They weren't in an exchange. He had nothing to offer them. Why would they? He's an accessory. He committed a crime. I was always told by people out of the hood, Compton, Compton gang cops, that Keefe D was driving, and that's even worse. So he's now saying he was a passenger in the front seat, but I was told he was driving.
I take it a step further. This is public record right here, public knowledge at this point. He said before, out of his own mouth, that he had Orlando the gun, that he actually gave him the weapon he actually used to kill Tupac.
Yeah, he said he handed it. Now they've got so many counts against him. Yeah, and Orlando's sitting in the back seat, and all Frank Alexander, one of the security guards. With bodyguards, but they weren't trained. They were real bodyguards. They were just big guys,
Right.
And they didn't even, and most of them didn't even carry guns. I don't think Frank was armed that night. So they, so all Frank Alexander saw was an arm with a gun, a brown arm come out of the passenger side, driver's side, behind the driver's seat, and open fire. And Keefe, what I read was Keefe, I took it away from him, and then somebody else was firing from the car. He's trying to make like Suge and Tupac were shooting at them, and they were just minding their own business, Tupac and Suge. And in a car, some girls were nearby, and they're flirting, and he's playing his music, having fun, headed to the Club 662 to perform, and these guys drive up and rat-a-tat-tat like Bonnie and Clyde. So they were not, this wasn't a back and forth, and he's trying to make it. Well, if there was, where's where are the guns, and that's never come up. That's Keefe D trying to save himself. He's just making up stuff.
Well, guess what, Miss Scott, I ain't going to hold you up much longer. I ain't going to take up too much more of your time, but I want to end this conversation like this. With all that you know and your connections, via law enforcement, and, you being familiar with these type of, events, how long should us Tupac fans think we're going to, how long is it going to take to see the next step? Like, what's next? How long is it going to take before the next shoe drops?
Well, what they have to do now is with the evidence, they've got to take it to, if they got anything, and they do have the tape from Netflix, they take that to a grand jury. Then the grand jury can return an indictment in maybe a week, and usually a week, 2 weeks, and then once that indictment is handed down, then it goes to the court, and it goes to a judge. It becomes official, and then they arrest him, and then it goes through the whole. Typically, trial would only be probably 2 weeks on a case like this, maybe 3, but it could take a year to go. But I think Keefe D is going to be a little crybaby, and he's going to try to get a deal and see if he can't cough up some homies who have committed some crimes and give them, throw them under the bus and see if he can't make a deal to get a less prison time and not have to go through trial. So he may plot, he may cop a plea bargain, but proffering and all that stuff is over. That's past this stage. This is just you're negotiating with the DA, and if he can, cough up somebody, then maybe. But otherwise, he's going to trial, and he's going to, and it's close to a murder rap. The fact that he had the gun and gave it to him, that might be more than accessory. That might be murder, because he knew what he was going to do with it. Yeah.
All right. Last question. When do you think we'll see an arrest made?
I think we're going to see an arrest made in a couple of weeks, few weeks. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I think he could be in custody right now, and we don't know it. It depends on what they got out of the house, how soon they get it to, get a grand jury, or they can bypass the grand jury. I think you can do that in Vegas, but I don't have all the jargon on that. But it's pretty fast. So he's not at his house. He's not at the house because all the reporters have been around there. But and then we'll see what they're keeping. Metro's keeping it close to their chest, but they didn't keep it close when they issued that news release with nothing in it other than, we're doing a search on a house in Henderson. And made everybody start digging deep and figure out what it was. But I think Keefe D is going to be in custody pretty quickly.
Well,
and then we'll all see justice. It doesn't get Orlando Anderson under, but it's going to tell the whole story of what went down, and everybody's going to know now. All the stupid conspiracy theories will go out the door, and we'll all know what happened, and it'll be a matter of record.
Wow, and the Tupac will finally get the justice he deserves. Ms. Scott, thank you so much. That's all I needed. Always a pleasure talking to you. I'm going to promote that book. I encourage everybody to go ahead and buy both books. The murder of Tupac, the killing of Tupac Shakur, and the killing of Christopher Wallace.
And the murder
of
Biggie Smalls. Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Right, yeah. Get both books on Amazon right now. Damn it, it's an excellent read. Ms. Scott, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
You're the best. Thanks so much. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Peace out.